Welcome to the very first episode of Unearthed. For 7 years, we ran Discovery week after week, digging through the underground, spotlighting new releases, and bringing the best in extreme music. And now, after all that time, it's evolved into something new. A fresh coat of paint, a new name, but the same mission. Unearthed is here to continue that legacy, to dig deeper, to uncover the heaviest, the fucking nastiest, and the most exciting albums being released right now. Every week, we'll be looking at 7 brand new records, or maybe more, taking you from black metal to death metal, from sludge to grind, from the melodic to the unhinged. If it's heavy, it has a home here. Think of this show as your compass through the chaos, pointing you towards the albums worth your time, while the rest fade into the noise. And trust me, there will be some bad reviews on Unearthed. We're not here for clickbait. We're here for riffs, for atmosphere, for honesty, for the kind of records that stick with you long after the fucking last note fades. If you've been with us like since the beginning of Discovery, thank you for sticking around. If you're new, welcome. And this is where we celebrate everything extreme. So grab a cuppa or heat up some popcorn, crank the volume, because this is Unearthed. Roll the intro, please. Before we jump into the reviews, let me explain how we're doing scores here on Unearthed. In Discovery, we used percentages. But for this new chapter, I wanted something that felt a bit more personal, you could say. Something that fits the name, the vibe, and the underground spirit of the show. So now albums will be scored on a scale from 0 to 10, but each number has its own meaning. If something's a fucking 0, that's buried alive, unlistenable. Something that should have stayed hidden. A 1 is a dust, forgettable. A 1 is dust, means forgettable and gone with the wind. A 3 is a shallow grave, weak and barely scratching the surface. Around the middle at 5, you've got Rusted Relic, which is average, maybe a cool riff or two, but nothing to keep digging for. Once we get into 7, 8, 9, that's when things start to shine. Unearthed gems, heavy treasures, and monumental albums that stand tall in the scene. And a 10, that's the unholy grail, unearthed perfection, masterpiece territory. And that is going to be a rare score. It's the same honesty as before, but with a fresh scale that tells you exactly how deep each record really goes. So with that being said, let's get into the first batch of albums. First up, we got Unleashed and the brand new album Fire Upon Your Lands, released on August 15th through Napalm Records.
The blood of those we despise, still drying out in the sand. We fought and died for our way of life on any soil.
This is their 15th full-length album. Honestly, you can tell right away these guys are veterans. They know their fucking craft, and they know exactly how to write riffs that stick. What stands out most to me are those guitars. The riffs here are just massive, thick, and dripping with that trademark Viking death metal power, which Unleashed have built their reputation on. Left 4 Dead comes out swinging a straight-up wall of sound that just crushes, while War Comes Again has this thrashy bite to it that gives the record a jolt of speed and aggression. Then we got To My Only Son, which brings an infectious groove that had me nodding along straight away. It's one of those tracks that just borrows your head. Now the drumming is a major highlight. Anders Schultz is an absolute powerhouse here. His double kickers are thunderous. His blast beats are sharp and precise, and every fill feels like it's driving the whole album forward like a war march. It gives a record this unstoppable momentum, that really sells this Viking battle theme. Now, when it comes to vocals, Johnny Hedlund still has presence. He still commands the fucking songs. I do think the delivery could have had a bit more grit, a bit more variety. It's not bad at all. It just doesn't always match the intensity of the music. Behind it, you got these riffs and drums that feel absolutely fucking massive, and sometimes the vocals sit just a step behind them instead of on top leading the charge. Lyrically, it's classic Unleash, epic, warlike, all about blood, battle, and Viking spirit. It fits the music perfectly, and you can feel that conviction in every track. Now, there's definitely a consistency across the 11 songs. It never dips into filler territory, which is impressive for a band this far into their career. If I had one real gripe, it's the closer, Unknown Flag. Now, it feels a little off theme, almost like a pirate song wedged into a Viking saga. It's not bad, but it doesn't quite land the way the rest of the album does, and I think they could have ended on a stronger note. But overall, Fire Upon Your Lands is a solid record. It's sharp, it's heavy, and it's battle tested. Unleash aren't reinventing anything here. They don't need to. They're delivering exactly what you want from them. Massive riffs, pounding drums, and songs that feel like they were written for the fucking battlefield. For me, this is an unearthed gem. It's a strong addition to their catalog, and definitely worth checking out in the mood for some warlike death metal. Next up is Panopticon, with Songs of Hieath, released August 15th through Nordvis and Binderun. Now, this isn't a brand new chapter in the sense of fresh material. It's a compilation of songs written between 2009 and 2011, stuff that never made it onto an album at the time. Austin Loon went back, remixed, remastered them, and finally pulled it all together into what he's calling the album that never fucking happened. And that's exactly how it feels, like a lost piece puzzle. You can hear echoes of early Panopticon in here, those raw atmospheric black metal ideas that were being formed before we sound really expanded into like these massive epics he's known for today. The opener, The Road to Bergen, sets that tone perfectly. It's got this sweeping, almost cinematic vibe that feels like stepping straight into a frozen landscape. Then songs like From Bergen to Jotunheimen and The White Mountain View carry that sense of scale even further, with tremolo riffs and layered guitars that feel like you're standing in the middle of the mountains as a storm rolls in. What makes this release interesting is that it's not just a bunch of leftovers slapped together. There's a surprising amount of cohesion across all the record. You can tell Loon curated this carefully, and the remastering job makes it sound alive and relevant, even though the source material is over a decade old. At the same time, you can hear that it is older work. Some transitions feel rough around the edges, some songs drag out their ambient sections longer than they need to, and not every track lands with the same impact. It's not as refined as albums like Autumn Eternal or what's that album called? And Again Into the Light, I think. But that's part of the charm. It feels raw, almost like a time capsule from an era where Panopticon was still sharpening his vision. Now, the midsection has some of the most powerful material. Haunted America 2, I think it's called, dives into themes of colonial violence and memory with real weight, while A Letter and A Eulogy strip everything down into something more vulnerable and personal. Those quieter moments balance out the bigger sprawling epics at the start of the record. Now, it's also worth noting that Loon dropped another album the same day, Laurentian Blues, I think it's called, his country folk project, and honestly, that one didn't do much for me. I respect him for putting his Americana influences out there, and there's no doubting his sincerity, but compared to the sheer emotional power of Songs of Hieath, Laurentian Blues felt flat and unmemorable. So is the Songs of Hieath essential Panopticon? Maybe not, but it's definitely worth your time if you're a fan. It's atmospheric and emotional, and it fills in a missing piece of the band's history. Not flawless, but when it hits, it really hits. For me, this again is an unearthed gem, so go check it out. Next up, we got Dutch heavy metal veterans Martyr with their new album Dark Believer, released August 15th through Raw. These guys have been flying the flag for classic heavy metal out of the Neverland since the early 80s, and you can hear that old school spirit all over this record. Straight away it gives off a fucking Judas Priest vibe, the soaring falsettos, the galloping riffs, but with a darker edge that sets it apart from being just pure nostalgia. Now the title track Dark Believer is a real highlight. Catchy chorus, killer riffs, some great guitar harmonization. Wrath of the Fallen is another standout. Classic heavy metal through and through, and the pinch harmonics sprinkled throughout give it that extra bite. Cemetery Symphony slows the record into like a moodier, doomy space before Insidious comes roaring in with an infectious groove and riff that immediately grabbed my balls. Now the weight of the words has some massive crushing riffs, but the vocals didn't quite hit for me there. Luckily Venom's scent kicks things back into high gear with a more thrashier, even more like nearly technical edge. That mix of traditional heavy metal and technical thrash is something Martyr pull off really well across the whole album. Now the guitar work deserves a lot of credit here. Killer riffs, sharp solos, and a tone that really cuts through the mix. I think Robert Van Haren's vocals, that's his name, are solid, and I really like the different techniques he uses, especially those falsettos which add that old school flair. The production balances that old heavy metal grit with a modern edge. The guitars and vocals sit nicely. I'd have liked the bass to be pushed forward more. There are still more standout bass moments, especially on the weight of the words and Harvest of Souls. And I've got to mention the closer, Legions of Cross. I think that's called, yeah, Legions of Cross. Brilliant way to end the record. Dark, atmospheric, killer riffs, and that intro with a real Slayer-esque vibe that pulled me straight in. Plus here and there, you can pick out some power metal influences throughout, woven into the songs, which adds another dimension to the sound. Overall, Dark Believer is a strong, consistent record from a band that clearly know their craft. Not flawless, there are dips and a couple tracks that don't hit as hard, but when it's good, it's really good. For me, this is a solid find. Number 4 this week is Castrator with Coronation of the Grotesque, released August 15th through Dark Descent Records. This is their second full-length following up 2022's Defiled in Oblivion, and it's a serious step up. Castrator are an all-female death metal band, and honestly, if you didn't know that going in, you'd never guess. This is just crushing no frills death metal, brutal and professional through and through. At around 37 minutes, it's a perfect runtime, short, sharp, and to the point. The opener fragments of Defiance don't waste a second, blasting you with like fucking technical riffs and savage drumming, drags you into a darker, filthier atmosphere, grooves laced with eerie dissonance. The kind of song that feels oppressive in all the right ways. I Am in Nook, I think it's called Nook, is one of the record's most striking cuts, not just musically but lyrically. It digs into the history of like forced castration, making it as horrifying in subject matter as it is in sound. The middle section is stacked with highlights too. Covenant of Deceit comes armed with a razor-sharp riffing and a standout solo, while Mortem's Opetary and Remnants of Chaos keep the energy relentless, marrying old school grit with modern precision. Divide Miscreant balances hooks and savagery, one of those tracks that sticks with you. Then the record dives deep into like darker waters with Psalm of Beguiled and Blood Binds Curse. Tracks that really slows things down just enough to add menace and atmosphere without killing that fucking momentum. Discordant Rumination brings it all to a hammering close before the band cap things off with their take on Exodus Metal Command. Now it's a fun cover, though it doesn't quite carry the same weight as the original material. It feels more like a bonus and a true close. I'd say it's more of a bonus track. Now production is exactly what you want in this style, dirty and murky with grit that makes a riff sound even heavier, but still clear enough to catch every drum fill and guitar lead. The musicianship is pretty top notch across the board. Sarah Lurland's guitar work adds a real firepower with riffs that bite and solos that cut through the chaos. Well, you got Carolina Perez and Robin Marsden laid down a rhythm section that's tight and really fucking punishing. And Clarissa Badini's vocals are just feral, guttural, nasty, and commanding, adding real intensity to the already crushing instrumentation. You'd swear that was a man. What I like most about this album is how it doesn't just go for gore and shock value in its lyrics. Castrator tackled darker realities, historical violence and societal horrors, modern tragedies, so the brutality has real weight behind it. Overall, Coronation or Grotesque is a focused, devastating slab of death metal. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it doesn't need to. It's consistent, it's fucking engaging, and it hits hard from start to finish. For me, this is another Unearthed gem. Go check it out. Next up on Unearthed, we've got Lotan and the new album Yetzer Hara, released August 15th through Emancipation Productions. Take a listen. Lotan come out of Denmark and deal in black and death metal with a very old school spirit. This is one of those records that hits you with hostility right away, but still finds space for atmosphere and raw fucking emotion. It's dark, uncompromising, and has that underground grit that feels both classic and current. Minor Warfare sets the tone instantly with sharp riffs and with that venomous vocal delivery. Scorched Tyranny is probably the standout here. Relentless tremolo picking, crushing blasts. It's got that perfect mix of chaos and precision. Omnicide Manifest is another highlight. I love how that intro slowly builds and then collapses in this raw black and fury. That's where Lotan really shine, where they play with dynamics before dropping the hammer. Crown of Ropes shows off the vocals again, commanding and sinister through the songwriting. Though the songwriting does feel a bit on the repetitive side on this song, but Incantation of Hatred redeems that with an apocalyptic groove and layered guitars that really drive this fucking atmosphere. And then we got Righteous Fury as the closer, heavy, dramatic, a proper finale that leaves you in the smoke and rubble. The production is gritty, raw in the right places, but it's not a total wall of mud. You can still hear the riffs cutting through, the drums feel tight, and the vocals sit nicely in the mix. It's definitely underground, but not unlistenable, and that's why I really love it, which is exactly the balance this kind of album needs. Now, not everything here completely lands. Some tracks lean on pretty simple structures, and occasionally you get that sense of like deja vu riff-wise, but overall, the intensity and the atmosphere hold strong, and when Lotan hit their stride, they hit hard. So for me, Yetzer Hara falls right in the sweet spot between a solid find. Go check it out. Next up on Unearthed, we got Golgata with the new album Sjalabod, released August 15th through Saturnath Records. Take a listen. Now these guys come from Sweden, and what they've given us here is like atmospheric black metal record with sprinkles of doom heaviness and folky melody running through it. But don't get it twisted, this isn't some genre mashup experiment. At its core, this is black metal, raw, cold, and dripping with emotion. The guitar work is the real star. You got these mournful melodies on Sorg that immediately drag you into the record, the razor-sharp tremolo riffs on Velabrad and Ankerdok that cut through like icy winds, and a hypnotic title track which takes its time to unravel, wrapping you in atmosphere before striking with that bleak black metal bite. Then you've got Sjalabod, which hits hard and balances aggression with a chilling sense of melody, and I really love Dodstun. That track leans heavier into like folkier vibes before snapping you right back with sharp fucking riffs. Now, as strong as this album is, not every song fully lands. A couple moments drag when they lean too much into atmosphere without giving you that payoff. You're waiting for a blast beat or a riff to come in and just crush, but it doesn't always happen. Still, when it clicks, it fucking clicks. The closer skimming is a haunting way to wrap things up. It feels like the light is fading from the sky and you're left in total darkness. Production is on point for this style. The guitars dominate and slice with clarity, the vocals are raw and commanding, and the little doom folk flourishes never feel out of place. They add depth but never pull away from the blackened core. Overall, Golgata delivered a really good album here. It's dark, melodic, atmospheric, and very powerful with some brilliant guitar work. Sure, a few songs don't hit as hard as they could, but as a full listen, it really sticks with you. I'm scoring this Unearthed gem and a well worth checking out. Go check it out. Next up on Unearthed, we're closing things out with Dewichor. Dewichor. No Tomorrow. Now, this is a debut full-length straight out of Russia, and you can feel every ounce of that icy despair bleeding through the music. At its heart, the melodic black metal, but Dewichor, whatever it's called, stretch themselves further into doom-soaked atmosphere, post-black drama, and some truly daring experiments. It's an album that feels alive, constantly shifting mood and texture, giving you both brutality and haunting beauty across 8 tracks. It all begins with How Unchained, a slow, eerie opener that leans into doomy textures before the black metal attack breaks through. The tension is palpable, like a warning of what's coming. Then comes the Great Divide, where the band show their teeth, sharp riffs, manic vocals, and an icy tremolo passage that feels straight out of the 90s. Already you sense the scale of this record isn't going to be small. Requiem pushes things further, leaning into like post-black tendencies. It's dramatic, almost theatrical, with sweeping transitions that make the track feel like a movement in a larger work rather than just another song. What else? We got Face to Hellfire. It's pure menace at first, fuzzy, unsettling bass tones and riffs that sound off kilter but lock in brilliantly. The way it builds tension is masterful, eventually exploding into crushing weight, shredding guitar solos, and some of the most monstrous vocals on the record. Then you hit Barbed Wire, the wildcard track. This is where the band break the rule book, fusing black metal with fucking violin, saxophone, Middle Eastern melodies, all tied together by raw riffing and synths that sound both eerie and grand. It's strange, daring, and it works. It's one of those tracks that makes you sit up and think, these guys aren't afraid to take fucking risks. Heresy follows with a more direct punch, a headbanger through and through, tight drumming, hypnotic riffs, and a build-up that feels like it's constantly coiling but never quite snapping. The Light of the Dead World is another entrancing piece with searing melodies and some of the most emotive vocals here. It's not the strongest cut, but it adds to the atmosphere and sets the stage for what's next. That closer, Frostfall, is like fucking 10 minutes. It's crowning achievement. 10 minutes long, opening with eerie organ-like synths before dragging you through waves of distortion, doom, and fury. Every shift in pace drags you deeper, and by the time it reaches its furious end, you're left drained. Your balls are drained, but in the best way. It's not just a closer, it's a statement. This is who we are. The production nails a balance between raw and polished, enough grit to keep it true to black metal roots, but clear enough to let every instrument and texture breathe. The guitars dominate, the drums pound with urgency, and the vocals cut right through. If there's a weakness, that's not every track lands. It's not like every track lands with equal impact, but the highs are so high that they carry the record as a whole. No Tomorrow is bold, atmospheric, experimental, convincingly apocalyptic, a debut that proves This band, Dewichor, are a band to watch. On the Unearthed scale, I'm going to give this a Unearthed gem. And that's the end of this week's Unearthed. Some of you are probably still wondering why Discovery just fucking ended after 7 years. Well, here it is. The Discovery Channel decided to come down on us with an infringement notice, or because of the name. After 7 years of grinding, giving exposure to bands nobody else really talks about, they suddenly act like we're stepping on their toes. Absolutely fucking nonsense. But you know what? Screw it. We don't stop just because some corporate giant thinks they own a word. Discovery might be gone in name, but Unearthed is here, and it's the same spirit, digging up the underground, cutting through the noise, and bringing you the real thing every single week. That's it from me. Unearthed lives on, and I'll see you in the next one.